Welcome everybody to today's session. This is the Chevening application webinar, and today we are going to answer all your questions that you may have regarding the application process. And today we are joined by several people to guide in this particular process. I will give an opportunity for everybody to introduce themselves, but I would like to make a special mention for people joining us. We have Ijoma, who is bringing this live for people with hearing impairments, and so we are catering for people in that category. And also today we are joined by Gebanji, who's visually impaired, and he's coming to bring it to all the persons out there that are in that same category. But generally today we are here to answer each and every question that you may have regarding the application process. My name is Agatha Ninsima. I'm a Chevening Scholar 2021-2022. I pursued a master's in international business and commercial law from the University of Manchester, and I will give an opportunity for my fellow panelists today to introduce themselves, and I'll call upon each. I'll start with Gabenja. Gabenja, could you please introduce yourself?
So, hello everyone. My name is Benga Ogundari. I'm a Chevening alumnus. I'm not a Chevening scholar again. I pursued my master's degree in media and international development at the University of East Anglia in Norwich. Currently, I work at BBC as a Chevening BBC intern, as a journalist on the BBC Newsday radio show. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to the next one. Dr. Ijoma, please introduce yourself. Kindly unmute. Kindly unmute. Dr. Ijoma, kindly unmute.
Okay.
You're unmuted now. Please introduce yourself.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you very much. My name is Dr. Ijoma. I'm a medical doctor by training and a pediatrician. I just concluded a master's in public health and development at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. Thanks to Chevening. This is 2022-2023 session. And I'm pleased to meet all of you. I'm ready to answer your questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Ijoma. Funmiji, please introduce yourself. Thank you. Funmiji, please introduce yourself. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Mr. Kangwa, please unmute yourself and introduce yourself as well.
Thank you, Agatha. How's everyone? So my name is Kangwa Nkonde. I'm a Chevening alumni, alumnus from 2015-2016 cohort. I'm from Zambia. Started at the University of Aberdeen, medical physics. Thank you.
Thank you, Kangwa. We joined again with Ola. Ola, please, you're welcome. Please introduce yourself as well to our viewers, both on Facebook and YouTube and on LinkedIn. Over to you, Ola.
Okay, hello everyone. I was just thinking I would just pop in for a bit, but my name is Olamide Esho from the University of Nottingham. I'm a Commonwealth scholar. My colleagues here, most of them are Chevening scholars. So I'm doing my PhD in sustainable energy technology. So thank you, Agatha, for having me I'm doing my PhD in sustainable energy technology.
Thank you, everybody, for joining in. To our viewers online, welcome again, and we are ready to answer all your questions. And please drop your name and where you're joining in from so that we can take note of where you're joining in from. And today, really, we're just going to give a summary of what this Chevening application process is about, but majorly we shall be answering questions. Previously, we have a webinar that we actually put out on how to prepare winning essays. And I would like you to look at that previous webinar. We have a record on YouTube and Facebook as well as LinkedIn. So I'll go there and check that out. But today we are going to just give a summary, and over to you, Kangwa. We shall start with you. Just give us a summary of the application process for Chevening.
Thank you, Agatha. The application process has certain requirements. I think let me talk about requirements. So it requires that you have at least a minimum of 2 years working experience. Then it also requires that you have at least good grades, not necessarily the distinction, but something at least good enough to get you in. And I'm not sure if that requirement is still on now. You may need to write the IELTS English language test as well and get certain grades in it as well. So the process is you are required to first write your application, and in the application you need to write certain essays tackling certain areas, namely leadership, networking. What's the fourth one? I think also like they look also. I think your plans post qualification and during the study. In those and about the course you're also applying for. So I think about 4 areas. They vary on how they ask them, but generally it's just these 4 main things they look at. Then so after you've done your application, so I think the application opened last month and it's closing next month. So there's still a little bit of time in which you need to do. The next stage is for you to you'll be nominated or shortlisted for interviews. So they host oral interviews, usually hosted at the local embassy, British embassy. And you will be interviewed based on your application. Then after that, there will be a final selection. And if you're selected after the interview, you will be conditionally offered the scholarship. And there are certain conditions you'll be told which you have to fulfill before you can be given a final offer of the scholarship. So it's those stages which we will talk about today. And if you have questions on how to, mostly we're looking at the application. So if you have questions, you need clarifications on the application processes, you can pop in your questions and we can try and answer the questions. We will also guide on the next steps as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Kangwa, for that. But today, really, I have a question that has come in for all of us, but I would like Benga, sorry if I do not pronounce your name very well, but someone is asking, they've applied in the previous 2022 session and they never were successful. And the question is, how can they make their essays better? I think it's a general question, but maybe you can just take us through on some of the common mistakes that applicants make in respect in respect to the different essays, starting with the leadership essay. Just give us a general overview, but
All right, thank you very much, Agatha. So the question is quite, peculiar to me. I actually applied 10 times and I got it on the 10th time. I mean, I started applying 2012 and then I didn't get it until 2022. So, so the person who sent the question shouldn't be afraid of applying again. What the rejection meant would be that you have to have a story to tell. Whether you are applying for the first time or you are applying, for the opt-in time, the truth is that you must have a story to tell the reviewers who will be reviewing your application. So if you applied last year and you didn't make it to the interview stage, it will mean then that your essays were not convincing enough. So what I would advise you to do is to go back to your stories, the stories you told in your essays, because they are stories that are particular about you, about your experience, about how you have impacted development, about how you have impacted lives, about how you have helped your context, your country now to realize the global agenda for development. So go back to those stories, see what you have done in your leadership. How have you, as a person who is a volunteer or who is a full-time worker in a particular context, use your experience, use your leadership and influence to help individuals and communities and the country at large, go nearer in realizing the global agenda for development. The same thing happens to your networking and your relationship and sharing. And so you can't, be an island on your own and think that you will get the Chevening. No, you have to collaborate. You have to forge collaboration. You have to network. You have to work with people, with communities, with individuals, with professional associations, with professional colleagues and such, other, communities. So you have to be able to tell Chevening how you are able, or how you have been able to apply your skills in networking and collaboration to bring about, again, development in your context, to impact the individuals again in your context, to impact communities again in the countries where you live. It is when you tell these stories and then you show us evidence, okay, that indeed you really did this, and this is how you did it, and this is the reward, this is the result that emanated from what you did, and these are the feedback you get. That is when Chevening is convinced beyond every reasonable doubt that, okay, so you are a leader and that you have networking skills. And then the same thing goes to your career goals and then your choice of universities. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that detailed explanation. Someone in the comment section has really said 10 times is quite a challenge, but still we would like to encourage people to keep applying. Really, personally, I was lucky on my 4th attempt. On my first attempt, I was very lucky to get to the interview, but I never made it to the final award. But my second and third time, I didn't even make it to the shortlist. And then I got lucky again on my 4th attempt. I went to the interview stage, and then finally, I got the final award. So don't give up, apply, apply, apply. The next time could be the charm. This question, we shall give a chance to Funmi to also add her voice to it. What would you say would be the common mistakes applicants make in their essays? Because if you look at the Chevening website, there's actually a list of common mistakes that applicants do make. So I would like Funmi to weigh in on that question, so that applicants that have applied before do not make the same mistakes again, but even new applicants don't make the same mistakes again. Over to you, Funmi.
I think you mean Ijoma. So Funmi is the interpreter.
Oh yes, Ijoma.
Yeah, you mean Dr. Ijoma.
Yeah. Sorry. Dr. Ijoma, over to you.
Hello. Okay. Just like my colleagues have said, don't give up. Just because you apply one doesn't mean you will not get it the next time. Then I want to mention one mistake people make is that you need to get the fundamentals. You need to know the basics first. For example, you have to sleep on the website. You have to get every single detail you need from the website. You have to find out the eligibility criteria. Do you actually meet it? Find out about the working hours. Find out about anything. Then one other thing is, when you are writing your essays, you should make it, captivating. The people that are going to read your essay, they are going to read thousands of essays. So you have to do something that will make your essay to stand out. You can be from the first line. Maybe, for example, in one of my essays, what I wrote was, the doctors don't want to hear me. They don't want to listen to me. It is frustrating for a deaf person to go to hospital. No, that kind of thing, something that will jump out. Then another thing again is making grammatical errors in your mistake. That is, that is not, it's a no. Don't make mistake. Simple mistake like, grammatical, typographical errors. You can use Grammarly. If your grammar is not very good, you can use Grammarly to cross-check your essays. Then one other thing again is jumping to submit without really, sending it to people to read for you. It might not be a scholar. Any other person can read it and give feedback on it. Then there's an approach you have to use. If your essays are not structured, there's a structure I personally use. I call it the STAR. Common. STAR stands for action and result. If your essays are not structured, they are all over the place. You talk about this, you talk about that. No, that is not what they are looking for. They want to see an element of structure in your essay. So that is what I can recall for now. If I can remember any other one, I'm going to mention as the webinar goes on.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ijoma. There's a question that have been asked over time about the approach. In the last webinar, the panelists really did talk much about the STAR approach of writing essays, and someone asks, what is this STAR approach really? What does it entail, and how can an applicant really, who's never used this approach, come in and use this approach for their essays? Over to you, Kangwa. Please shed light on the STAR approach again.
Thanks, Agatha. Yeah, so it's a technique for writing very structured, comprehensive argument. You can even use it for interviews. So the STAR is an acronym. So S stands for situation. So if you're going to write about something, you need to find a situation, look at the situation you want to write about. So create the situation first of all. Then after you've created your situation, you look at the task. What was the task at hand? What did you need to do in this situation you found yourself in? Then after you've isolated the task which you needed to perform, you look at the actions. What did you do now? So this is a task which was required. Then what did you do? So how did you do it? So you also now write the actions, what the actions you performed. And you shouldn't shy away when you're writing in these essays. You shouldn't shy away to use I. People want to see you. What did you do? Avoid. I know there's a lot of modesty in. We're taught to be modest. We tend to use we. More than necessary. But for this, when you have a chance like this, you need to bring out the I in that. What did you do? How did you do this? Why did you do that? It should be I. I did this. I did that. I did that. Then after you've laid down the actions, you can go now to the results or the outcomes. So R is the results. So you say, oh, after we did this, this is what we did. Then as a result of doing this, we had this impact in the community. There was this. So people want to see that you're not just saying, if let's say you're giving an example of leadership, you're not just talking about, oh, I'm a leader, but you look at actual situations where you actually played a leading role, right? And what you actually did, in that which made you be a leader, How did you lead? What did you do in order to lead? And what were the results and impacts of your actions? So that's what I can say about the STAR acronym. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. That Kangwa. We've so far looked at the general common questions that are asked. Now let's go into the essays, and we shall give guides on how to write really winning essays. We shall look at the first question in the application. I hope everyone that is logged in has gone to the Chevening website, opened an account, looked through the eligibility process. Why? Because the application window is closing come next month. So for up to this time, we hope everybody has actually looked at the essays and has tried to draft essays. So let us look at the leadership and influence essay. If you have logged in and looked at the essays, you will see this is the question for this year. It states Chevening is looking for individuals who will be future leaders or influencers in their home countries. Explain how you meet this requirement using clear examples of your own leadership and influencing skills to support your answer. The minimum word count for this particular essay is 100 words, and the maximum word count is 500 words. So let us call upon Dr. Ijoma to really shed light on this essay. What is required of applicants to draft a really excellent essay in respect to this particular segment of the application?
Okay, thank you. Now, talking about leadership and influence, a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that Can you hear me? People make the mistake of thinking
Yes, we
that
can.
leadership
You're breaking a bit, Dr. Ijoma, but we were hearing you at the start.
Okay, can you hear me now? Sorry, there was a network
Yes, we
issue
can.
on my side. So people make the mistake of thinking that leadership is about being the president of an association or being something. No, leadership is what have you done to solve a problem? And what was the impact? That impact, can you estimate it? How many people did you influence? What exactly did you do? That is what leadership is all about. You see a problem and you think about a solution and you solve it. That is also where this start comes about. For example, in my essay, I get 3 examples of leadership. I have a hearing impairment. Without my hearing aid, I am deaf. And with my hearing aid, I'm hard of hearing. But that has not stopped me from achieving what I want to achieve. And I see people around me with, I've seen deaf people who have problems accessing medical care because of communication gap. Now that is the problem. Now, what did I do about it? You think about it, okay, I've organized a webinar. I've tried to, bridge the gap between the patient, the deaf patient, and the doctor. That is part of what I've done. I've done it in little ways. So you give an example of that. You talk about the problem, you talk about the solution, and very importantly, you talk about the impact you make. How many people did you affect? They always like to see figures in your essay. Don't just give a general talk about what you did. How many people did you impact? That is what leadership is all about. Leadership and influence. Then I also gave some other examples in my essays about how I influence. It doesn't have to be a big problem. It can be a simple problem. It can be something small but made a lot of impact. So that is what leadership is all about. You have to write the essay in a captivating way. Don't make it to be boring. Let it not be, I did this, I did that, I did that. You have to spice it up. If you are a good storyteller, you are going to be a very good essay writer. Writing stories is very important. People, the human being, the human nature likes stories naturally. So now when you see somebody that has been reading thousands of essays, suddenly somebody is telling an interesting story about how he solved a problem. I think that essay is going to, get less chance than other essays. You are competing with a lot of people. One thing I want to say is that is in your essay, you have to blow your trumpet. It's not something, there is nothing like false modesty in Chevening. You have to talk about what you have done. So talk about all of them, every single way you have impacted someone. Don't try to be shy or try to play down what you did. You have to amplify it as much as possible. It will be good if you have been, you have been documenting what you have been doing for a while. You don't just wait one day you want to apply for Chevening. I always tell people that if you volunteer, do something, make an impact. Don't just fold your hands and wake up and say, I want to come and apply for Chevening. Have you volunteered in this place? Have you solved a problem? Have you done this? Have you done that? That's what we are talking about. That's leadership and influence we are talking about. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Let's just hear more about this particular leadership and influence. Maybe just to break down this question, we just need to underline a few things in this question. The first one is Chevening is looking for, one, individuals who will be future leaders or influencers. So really, that should clearly come out in your essay. Are you going to be a future leader, a current, or do you desire to be a future leader or influencer in your home country? If you do, then explain how you meet this requirement, how using clear examples of your own leadership and influence skills. And how do you do that? By supporting your assertion with examples. And that has been clearly explained by Dr. Ijoma. Just maybe to sum it up, Gibenja, could you please tell us how you do that in an essay? Dr. Ijoma has told us this is how you do it, but can you give us a step-by-step guide on how to do it? Because people listening to us online have heard what Dr. Ijoma has done, but like you had one of the applicants say, they've applied several times and they have not been successful. Could you please give a step-by-step guide on how to actually write this essay?
Okay, thank you very much, Agatha. So I will go back to what Kangwa and Dr. Ijoma said, and then foreground it in my own context. Now, take it from me. I am blind, as in blind. I can't see anything. And I am a print journalist. Now, I'm not just a print journalist. I am an award-winning journalist in Nigeria, and I've won both local and sub-regional awards for being a blind journalist competing against sighted journalists. So I guess by now you should be thinking that, okay, this person must be some, magician or some super resilient star. The truth is that, you should, like I said earlier, must have a story to tell. Now, this is my own leadership. I lost my sight while I was already a journalist, 4 years into my career as a journalist. And it did not deter me, because then I now realized that persons with disabilities are underrepresented in news coverage, in the media generally. And so that became my own big problem. That became the way for me to actually influence decision that will favor person with disability in Nigeria, over 30 million for that matter. And so I kept on reporting disability, development, and policy challenges affecting this community. So I go back to what Kangwa said about star, okay? And I will add another F to it to make it staff. The situation in my own context is that over 30 million persons with disabilities in Nigeria are underrepresented in news coverage and news reportage. And so the task for me was to see how I can ensure that stories or narratives affecting these communities, get into the mainstream media, both print and broadcast. So my action was to keep pitching ideas about disability and then reporting these stories. I get fundings actually from several organizations to report because nobody was willing to employ me. So I keep pitching story ideas to organizations who will fund my story, and it should be about disability or how some persons are tormenting or torturing persons with disability. And then I will report this story, and then the result will be the stories that is published in several media platforms. And then the feedback will be people will now call and say, hey, man, how did you get that story? And now we will take action. And so, you know what I did on my 10th attempt when I got the scholarship? I found out that persons with albinism in Lagos State are dying because of cancer. And the reason they are dying of cancer is because they can't access healthcare services. Okay, so I did the story and I did data. I did a data-driven story showing that the Lagos State government has not budgeted enough to take care of the health of Lagosians, how much less, persons with disabilities. And I gave a bit-by-bit account of how much this money will go around if they were to be distributed. And so by the time I did the story, the Lagos State government was scandalized because at the end of the day, if we share the health budget of Lagos State among Lagosians, they won't get more than 3,000 naira each person in Lagos. So how does that now help a person with albinism who is battling with cancer and blindness to get treatment? So at the end of the day, 4 months later, the state government could not withstand my story. They had to initiate a policy that now gives free healthcare insurance to persons with disability in Lagos State. Now, that is the feedback, the results and feedback. So you see, your star approach has just completed. I have put a F there too, which is feedback. The feedback you get from your community, how women who are pregnant, who are disabled, are now able to access healthcare in government hospitals. How the blind are able to get to the hospital and they are able to, attend to them without, stress. Those are the things. How I use my own media influence as a blind journalist to bring the voice of persons with disabilities into mainstream media, both online and traditional. How I'm able to influence non-state actors and state actors to see that disability issues are actually a big issue that policy should focus on. That is how you tell the stories of your leadership and influence. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that elaborate example that you've given. And I think that people online really have benefited from that example you've given. Thank you so much, and congratulations on the achievements you have so far. And we hope that you continue to be a voice for so many people out there. Let's move to the next question, which is on relationship building and shared learning. Once again, I hope our viewers, you've logged in. The link has been shared in the comment section. If you have not, please go there and check that link and try and apply. The application really is an easy process. All you need is to write your winning essays and you're good to go. This particular essay is about relationship building and shared learning. I think in the previous years, it used to be the networking essay, I think. The question is, Chevening is looking for individuals with strong professional relationship building skills who will engage with the Chevening community and influence and lead others in their chosen profession. Please explain how you build and maintain relationships in a professional capacity, using clear examples of how you currently do this, and outline how you hope to use these skills in future. Key to this question really, if you are those that read as you underline, key to underline is individuals with strong professional relationship building skills who will engage with the Chevening community and influence and lead others in their chosen profession. And you go ahead and explain how you will build and maintain relationships in a professional capacity. How? By using clear examples of how you're currently doing this and how you hope to use these skills in the future. So it has different elements. It has your current, how you are currently doing it and how you hope to do it in the future. So let us, is Kangwa there? Kangwa, please come and give us how you would advise our applicants to actually answer this particular question.
Yeah, so I think there's a bit of feedback. Yeah, thank you. So what this question is looking for, firstly, is I think it requires one to outline the philosophies that guide professional relationship building and sustain engagement as well. So you kind of outline the philosophies behind professional relationships. Then once you've done that, you can go into you pick an example. So you have, I think here, the other thing you need to understand is that relationship building, it's like Agatha has said, here it's a professional relationship building. So this is networking. How do you use your networks to further yourself career-wise, even to tackle problems and challenges? They may be professional, they may not necessarily also be professional, but how can you harness the professional networks as well? So you need to outline those examples you have had in your life, right? So here, if you are coming from you are coming from university, you haven't worked. There are those challenges where people have asked, I'm just coming straight from school or from university. I haven't really had very deep-rooted networks yet. How can I phrase this chapter? So here, what they're looking for is how you have harnessed your relationships from university. Even in university, while you're in university, how did you harness those networks you had to solve one or two challenges you had? If you're in university and you're talking about professional relationships, you can look at how did you harness the relationships you've created with your lecturers. How did you harness your networks you've created even with your course-mates, right? And how did you, using those networks, how did you solve the problems you have had so far? If you are working, of course, people want to see how you have used your networks from before, current, to solve problems in a professional setting, even in a non-professional setting. So all these are things which kind of they're looking at, because they kind of play a very critical role in the future. So what Chevening is looking for are people who are able to use their networks to further the community agenda, and also further the national agenda, and also further their personal growth as well. And Chevening also wants to tap into such characters, because they know that these are characters who are going to push the Chevening agenda as well. Like what's happening now, we're sharing these experiences. This is what Chevening is looking for. People who are able to come back and utilize networks. So, and a typical example I can use is one of our colleagues has come up with this idea and reached out to all of us, the ones you're seeing here, from different countries and different areas of specialization, and brought us together to come and sit down and have this discussion and explanation of things of how to apply. So this is a typical example of relationship building and shared learning, So she's able to harness the network from her network, the Chevening network, bring it together, and ultimately have a product which we can deliver, which can help others proceed in their adventure into this scholarship. Thank you.
Thank you, Kangwa. And before we go further, let us look at some of the questions that have been asked by different people, because we have a question in the leadership part. Oluwatobiloba Adebayo is asking, good evening, I'm Adebayo from Nigeria. I would like to ask if I can explain 2 personal leadership stories to answer this question, the question on leadership, or stick to just one story. Thank you. And Dr. Ijoma, I will allow you answer this one to answer Adebayo's question.
Okay. Personally, I gave 3 examples in each of the categories of my essay. For example, leadership, I gave 3 examples. Networking, it was called networking during my time, 3 examples. Career plan, studying in UK, of course, 3 schools. So I gave 3 examples. I think giving 2 or more examples is okay, but 1 only is not okay. I don't think 1 is okay. 2 or 3 stories for each segment is okay, but not just random, provided the structure using that approach they talk about. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ijoma. I've just to announce that our interpreter, Funmi, who's online, might take a break in between so that she can ably serve us today. So anybody with a hearing impairment, please enable the captions in online so that you can follow the conversation. There's an automatic caption if you join on LinkedIn and Facebook. So please utilize that so that you're following each and everything that is being discussed today. Thank you so much, Funmi, for your service and your love for all the people out there. I hope this question has been ably answered. If there's anybody who wants to add, please, Benga, you can add to Adebayo's question. What is your take on using examples? Would you advise someone to use 1 example? We've heard from Dr. Ijoma, who used 3. What was your experience?
All right. Yeah, thank you, Agatha. 1 story will not suffice, please. You cannot convince the reviewers of your essay with a single story. You have to have, that was why I said initially that you have to have stories to tell. Now, I told you earlier that I did a story on how the Lagos State government overlooked persons with disabilities in health budget. But then there are other stories. There are children and women, girl children and women in Lagos State who are being molested, who are being raped, but then who could not get justice because of something that is fundamentally wrong with the judiciary system in Lagos State. I did an investigation about that, how rape incidents keeps ramping up in Lagos State, and how the state judiciary, the judges are overwhelmed by caseloads. Now, the government did not know, but then we know that, and I discovered that the majority of these victims are being traumatized further because they couldn't get justice. So what I did was to embed myself in the court system for a long time, going to court and seeing how slow the process is in hearing cases of sexual molestations. Okay, and I did that story, and I pointed to it fundamentally that this is a case of underfunded judiciary and overwhelmed, judicial staff. And then lawyers who are quick to want to exploit the situation to implement, adjournments over adjournments until the victim is tired and is not inclined about getting justice again. The moment I published that story, The governor went to the Lagos High Court immediately. It wasn't on the second week. It was that same week. He rushed up there to confirm the story he saw, and then they said that was the thing. And then a process started, a reform started. So you have to have stories to tell. And please, I want to say this. I mean, see, this is about you. Your essay is about the only platform for you to tell the reviewers about you. After then is the interview, and the interview is not going to be a big deal. It's going to be what they are going to ask you questions based on what you wrote in your essay. So brag about what you have done. Put links there if you have links. In my own case, I'm a journalist. I provided several links to my stories that dealt with disability issues, that dealt with policy issues, that dealt with development issues. Okay. I also, in fact, at some point in my networking relationship, I also added videos while I was on TV talking about International White Cane and Safety Day, just like we had today. Today is the International White Cane and Safety Day. I was on TV advocating for safe road, for independent mobility. These are stories that Chevening wants to see. These are stories they want you to evidence with your links, if you have links. That was why Dr. Ijoma told you that you must have a story. Whatever you do, document those things that you do. Don't just wake up one day and just think about, clinching the Chevening Award. Document what you do so that when you are writing your essay, you are also embedding the link that, see, I have done this, and the link to what I've done or the feedback is here. You show them. You don't have to have the links, but then if you have the links, it will help you. In my own case, it helped a lot because all of my essays were populated with links to what I did. But for certain, a story will not suffice. Tell us stories. If you have impacted individuals, if you have impacted communities, if you have impacted your country, if you have helped your country to go further in realizing the global agenda for development, please let us know. And that is going to be through your story. And certainly, it is not going to be one story. Thank you.
Stop cam button. Mute micro. Thank you so much for that. Someone here, Kenro is asking, but how do you tell several stories with the limitation of the 500 maximum words? Yes, you're saying use as many examples as you have, but how do you maintain the word limitation? And if you posted in the comment section about common mistakes, one of the common mistakes that has been highlighted by Chevening is application question word count. Applicants go and write over and above the word count or below the minimum of the essay questions. So if they advise that if the minimum word count is not met, the application will be deemed ineligible. So Benja and Dr. Ijoma, how do we actually keep within the word limit by using these many examples you're asking us to use? Dr. Ijoma.
Okay. It's not going to be easy. But what I did was I let it flow. I wrote the examples. After writing, and I reviewed my essay. I started cutting and cutting, removing the fluff, removing the cutting wool, removing all the unnecessary things. Sometimes when I read some essays, I see some people, they don't go straight to the point. They keep going round about to talk about something. You have to learn sentence structure, learn how to say what you want in as few words as possible. That was what I did. Like my leadership essay, I gave an example of how I was able to organize seminars for people with disability, for persons with disabilities. I talk about this. When you use STAR, when you use situation, touch, action, and result, it will not be easy for you to talk too much. Restrict it. What was the problem? What did you do? What was the action? And what is the impact? When you put it like that, you'll be able to restrict your words. Then when you finish, you go to other parts of the essay and see where you can remove some things. Because actually, that leadership part is actually important. It's good for you to make a good impression when they start reading your essay from that leadership section, which is the first. That leadership section and that career plan, Those are the two places that you have to be, you have to really make an impression. So your examples in those two places have to be very strong. So it is good for you to have maybe 3 examples in the leadership. Then maybe in the other places you can reduce it. But the main thing is that when you use a structure, you will be able to stick to what you want to talk about, and you will not exceed the word limit. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ijoma. Someone is asking about our interpreter. To the sign language interpreter. Yes, our sign language interpreter has taken a break, but she'll be joining us back to ensure that everybody is following. But the LinkedIn and Facebook generates automatic captions, so please get there and actually follow. No one is going to be left behind today. We have all that covered. So let us move on to the next essay. But before we move on, there's a question about should the leadership and the networking, or the leadership and the networking essay, are they supposed to relate? We've had people talk about themes, like they should have a theme in your essays. What do you have to say about that? Kibeng, over to you.
Okay, so yeah, I suppose that the leadership and the relationship building thing, I mean, because it's, in the final analysis, you see that when you are a leader, you are able to forge collaboration. When you are a leader, you are able to network. So they both speak to each other, and that is why. So Chevening is not. Chevening knew what they were doing when they structured those questions that way. From the leadership, they move on to networking and relationship building. So a leader will always want to build no person who is a leader will not want to build relationship, will not want to forge collaboration. Okay, so now, so you have plenty stories to tell. When you give about 2 or 3 examples, maybe 3 examples in leadership, the rest should come into your relationship building. But this time around, you will now make those stories speak to how you are able to use collaboration and networking and sharing, information sharing, to drive that essay. Okay, so yeah, you can have a theme if you want, but then make sure ultimately that you have a story to tell. I mean, you can't just, for me, okay, so yeah, in my relationship building, I talk about my volunteering role. I'm the public relations officer of the Nigerian Association of the Blind in Lagos State. So in addition to being a journalist, okay, I'm also the communication person for the Nigerian Association of the Blind, and through that role, I am able to relate with my professional colleagues in the Nigerian Union of Journalism, Nigerian Union of Journalists, and then all other actors, professional actors, even transport unions, because we are talking about mobility, safe roads for blind persons. So every year, even including today, that's October 15, I am always in charge of the International White Cape and Safety Day. I have done a press statement that have gone viral today in the media platforms in Nigeria. Okay, so that's my relationship building skills. I'm here in the UK, working at the BBC, and I'm still engaging with the media in Nigeria, trying to tell them that blind persons, vision impaired persons must have, or must exercise, or must utilize their right to save roads, or accessible roads. So yeah, you can have a theme, but remember, it is relationship. So how is your skill able to help you, build relationship across, professional and non-professional, players? That's what you should say there. And then you should also provide examples. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Kibenga, for that. Like we did in the previous webinar, I just want to highlight on the not common mistakes, but there's a reading committee that usually reads these essays. And I just want to read out captions of some of the things they have mentioned and the mistakes people have done, especially in the leadership and influence essay. So first, they said, when demonstrating your leadership skills, try to draw on recent examples. For example, you might be 5 years post undergrad, and then the example you're using is your high school example. So try and use more recent examples from your professional experience. Then many applicants had a tendency to use examples from their academic experience, even as far back as secondary school days. So that is something that is discouraged. Please use more recent examples. Then some applicants assumed that occupying a particular position or role was in itself sufficient to demonstrate leadership. So you state in your essay, I was the manager for my from human resource in the company that I work in. And they're just listing the different roles. I was a manager, I was head of this, and that is not sufficient. So just listing the various responsibilities that you have held over the years is not sufficient. Make sure you take it a notch higher and explain, make sure you take it a step further and explain how you have successfully gained and maintained influence and what the outcome was. So I think the STAR approach has been explained, so please use it. The result needs to come out. And then lastly, many applicants were able to clearly define the concept of leadership, but failed to provide examples of how they have exhibited it and how it links to both their study and post-study plans. So please go to the Chevening website and try and follow some of these comments there. They have given common mistakes that are being done, but also they have given for people who have applied in previous years and have not been successful, they have given something on how why did I go wrong on my Chevening application, feedback from the previous year's reading committee. So I think let us move on to, we are going to answer all the questions. Maybe at this point, before we go, we can answer some of the questions so that we don't lose them along the way. Harold asks, Harold is asking, is it possible to submit the application in the absence of offer letters from universities? Dr. Ijoma, please weigh in on that.
Okay, well, I actually got the scholarship before I got my admission. Do you understand? So I want you to focus on your essays. I keep telling applicants, focus on your essays. In fact, some universities have not even opened their admission window for the next session. So you still have a lot of time to, focus, to write up your application. So go ahead and focus on your essays. If you have an offer, fine. If you don't have an offer, fine. But make sure your essays are top notch and face that before you start talking about the admission offers. In fact, when you get to the interview, after the time I had my interview, I told them that I don't have an offer yet, and yet it is not preventing me from getting the scholarship. What is important is that you have listed the universities you want in your essays, and you know that eventually you will get an offer. So I don't think it actually influences the success or failure of an application. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kibenja. Dr. Ijoma. Kibenja, there's a question here about from Jennifer. She's asking, can someone apply for this scholarship if they don't have a passport?
There are many things that having a passport is going to help you with. For example, some universities require you to write IELTS is the English exam. You cannot apply for IELTS without a passport. Well, you can. The Chevening application itself does not need a passport. You can go ahead and start the application and submit it, but I will advise you to start processing your passport as soon as possible because you are going to need it for a lot of things. IELTS application, even some university applications, the means of ID they want is your passport. But I think I really need to clarify. When they ask for a means of identification, Benga, did they ask us for our passport?
Benga, you can.
Well, I can't remember they asked for international passport. It's a means of ID. Well, maybe your NIMC ID might suffice. But the truth is that ultimately it is the international passport that is better because, like Dr. Ijoma said, you need to write the International English Language Testing System (IELTS), and then the only means of ID you must provide is your international passport. If you are going to get the Chevening and you are going to start processing your visa, you have to go to IOM to do your TB test. The only means of identification they will ask is your international passport before you can do a TB test. Otherwise, you are not going to do it. And so, all of this, and then in some applications for universities here, they will ask you first and foremost to submit your international passport, because at the end of the day, they are going to give you cards. They can't give you cards when you don't have travel documents. So please, if you are serious about getting the Chevening, please get your international passport ready and then start the other process. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that guidance. Maybe just to, at the point of applying for the scholarship, you don't have to have the passport, but as you go and progress in the application process, a passport is a key document you should have. So, like they have all mentioned, you need to go ahead and get a passport because it's required. It's a requirement for a successful applicant because there are states that are going to require it. So please go ahead and get it, and so that you avoid inconveniences as you go ahead. We know people who have actually applied and have been conditionally selected, but they don't have passports. So they start struggling on the last minute to actually get their travel documents ready. And you don't want to be disadvantaged that at the time you are applying, maybe the passport issuance is not acting properly and you miss out. The same goes for applying for the universities. It's not a requirement for you to apply now, but you need to ensure you kickstart that process as time goes. In my year, I know somebody who was successful and failed to get a unconditional offer and had to fail to go and get that further education because of failing to apply to the university on time. So whereas it's not a requirement now, don't apply and go and sleep and wait until you're actually successful. Once you have put in your essays, come November 7th, try to start on the application, because you never know what the period the university takes to give you feedback. So let's continue with the essays. We've so far handled 2 essays. That is the leadership and influence essay, as well as the relationship building and shared learning. Let's go to the next essay, which is the career plan essay. So the career plan essay reads that Chevening is looking for individuals who have a clear post-study career plan. Please outline your immediate plans upon returning home and your longer-term career goals. So the immediate plans are really the short-term plans, and then the long-term career goals. You may wish to consider how these relate to what the UK government is doing in your country. Again, the minimum word count is 100 words, and the maximum word count is 500 words. Kangwa, please, could you please try and tackle this part?
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I had to run. Yeah, so the way I would tackle this, or the way I usually advise people to tackle this part, is to break their career plans into 3 sectors. So you have the first part where you look at the immediate or short-term career goal immediately after completing your master's. So here you can look at it from maybe immediate, like you finish today, the next, up to somewhere like 3 years, 3 to 5 years, maybe 3 years is more like it. Then the next bit is you look at the career plan between 4 to 7 years. Like that's more or less in medium term. So you have the short term, medium term, and the long term career goals. So the long term career goals would align time-wise, would align with somewhere from 7 and above. That could be long-term career goals. So once you've broken down these, meaning that you have to write 3 paragraphs, right? Of course, these paragraphs typically talking about each of these things you want to do, right? So of course, you put an introduction of what you aim and your philosophy. So always when you're starting, start with some philosophy backing your whatever you're going to write below, then so you have 4 paragraphs and the conclusion, then you are done. So you break your career plans in short term, medium term, and long term goals, and make these. You don't need to put in so many things, right? Remember that there's only so much you can achieve, right, in a year. But it's if you look over time, these things actually kind of compound and become a lot by the time you're reaching 10 years. So make your career plans realizable and measurable as well. So have an aspect of how am I going to measure this career goal I'm looking at? How will I measure that I've actually achieved this by this time? So if you make it once you know your the short-term career goals, you can build on these short-term career goals, which move into your medium term, then finally into your long term. So there should also be a logical progression of your career. Remember that it doesn't make sense. You start with would say maybe you start with I would maybe start do a bit of research or policy and the like, then you jump to something else like changing in it should also show that there is focus as well, so your career plan should be focused. You shouldn't show a disjoint in the plans as well, so there should be a very cohesive flow and coherent flow in your planning as well in your career. Hope that's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Kangwa, for that. Maybe to add on that really is have an introduction for your essays, have the body and the conclusion. A real structure of a good essay. So when you're writing your introduction, the philosophy he's talking about, let it come clear and strong in your introduction, what you're going to write. And then the examples that he's talking about of your short-term and long-term plans are in your body. And then finally wrap it up with a conclusion without minding the word count that they've talked about. So maybe if Dr. Ijoma or Benga has something they want to add, please, in respect to this essay of career plan, how best can you write a successful essay in respect to this part?
All right. So, in my own case, yeah. Now, let me try and foreground what Kangwa just said. Kangwa mentioned philosophy, and I'm afraid that probably majority of applicants listening to us might not really understand what that philosophy means. Just provide a background information in the introduction that Agatha said now. What a background information about your career trajectory up to the time you are applying and then going forward. So the philosophy Kangwa is talking about is a background. Let us have a background. Like in my own case, don't forget, I already told Chevening in my leadership that persons with disabilities, their voices are underrepresented in mainstream media in Nigeria. So when I came back to my career goal, I now focused on development, particularly that all over the world now, people are talking about climate change, they are talking about inclusion, they are talking about gender equality. But I'm afraid in Nigeria, persons with disabilities are being left behind. And that is simply because there is no platform for their voice. And so what I want to do when I come in my short term is to also work with the BBC in Nigeria and BBC Media Action to see how we can use that international platform to also galvanize, policymakers in Nigeria through short stories, through radio journalism, through TV journalism, so that we have something, a voice for person with disabilities in Nigeria. And then I now wanted to talk about my own, that as a blind journalist, I am going to start the first media platform solely devoted to disability journalism and policy, disability and policy journalism in Nigeria. Okay. And then I talk about in my long term that after I've been able to establish this media platform, both radio and TV and print, in the long term, I want to aspire to be the president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists. Now, let me tell you the one fantastic thing about that. Because I'm able to provide that logical progression, just like Kangwa said, or just like Agatha said, introduction, body, and conclusion. Now, I will tell you that Chevening has helped me to establish my media platform in Nigeria. It is called Equality Reporters. We report disability and policy journalism. Now, as I speak with you, I am working with the BBC, the Newsday. That is the largest breakfast show all over the world. So I realized those plans. And now, so when I get to Nigeria, so I will just continue with Equality Reporters, and then hopefully in the next 10 years, then you see me as the president of Nigerian Union of Journalists. So you must have the stories again, like I said. Have a clear plan of what you want to achieve with your career, how you want to do it. So, so it's not just enough for you to say, I want to do this. How are you going to go about it? And then, like Kangwa said, will it be measurable? Will it be realizable? And then within what timeline? That is the SMART technique he just told you. So if you don't use staff, that's a situation, task, action, result, and feedback. You can use SMART, which is what I just explained to you. Thank you.
Stop can button. Mute micro.
Okay, what I have to
thank you.
There is something
maybe before you continue, Dr. Ijoma.
Death tracker, development tracker. Death tracker is short form of development tracker. Go to Google and Google it. It shows a list of things the United Kingdom is doing in different countries. If you can find out what the United Kingdom is doing in your country and find a way that your career plan can align to it, maybe there is something they are doing in health, or there is something they are doing in energy, or something they are doing in climate justice, and it's related to your what you are doing. Find a way you can key into it. If you can add it to your essay, your career plan, it will be good. Now, one other thing I have to say is that don't say when I come back, when I finish, I'm going to do a PhD. Even if you want to do a PhD, you don't have to mention it there like that. You have to talk about what you are going to do first before you do the PhD. Well, how are you going to give back? How are you going to give back to the society with what you have learned without going for further studies? That's all I have to add to the career plan. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. There's a question from Keno. Do you need to include the number of years? For example, short-term goals, 0 to 2 years. Upon returning, I will continue with my role as a public health researcher.
I think
that has been.
I did mention that we do need to include the number of years as well. I think it makes more sense to somebody who's reading to follow exactly what you are. If you just put it open like mid-term, short-term, long-term, it's very vague, really. Then maybe just to add on what Dr. Ijoma has said, avoid actually. I remember being hearing this, like you need to avoid mentioning that you move into either academia once you finish or you go and do PhD. I think what this scholarship is looking for is for people to who will build careers where they right, and have an impact where you are right now. So it's not. Yes, of course, we understand people change and opportunities vary, and you can still deliver even when you move. But it's trying to. I think they try to have a different approach to other scholarships, which are more based on feeding the research and academia. Academic research, and they want to increase capacity within the outside. That's why most times they also go for people already working so that you can develop where you are. That's where you actually go and have an impact when you come back.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for that elaborate answer. I think this question has been well answered. And maybe just to go back to the readers' comments in regards to this one. The reason we are going to this is to show the feedback that has been said from the reading committee of the 2023-2024 cohort. This helps to guide so that you don't make the same mistakes. Here they mentioned that when it comes to the career planning, ambition is great, but make sure you have achievable plans of how you get there. The strongest responses included specific measurable goals, and this has ably been mentioned. And then don't forget to think about the role the Chevening network will play in helping you to achieve your career goals. I mean, what doors it will open for you once you are a successful Chevening applicant. So once you're answering this particular career plan question, please take note of that. Make smart goals. Let's move to the last, I think, essay, which is the. Let's look at the next essay, which is the. We've looked at the studying in the UK essay. So this question reads, outline why you have selected your chosen 3 university courses. I hope the persons that have logged into the portal and created an account and started the process have seen that you're required to choose 3 university courses. And please explain, if you haven't, there's a course finder on the website. So there are people who have logged in, but they don't know how to actually find universities in the UK. So there's a course finder. You just have to mention a course you want, and it will show you the university that is offering it. So you can use that that particular part. But the question says, explain how this relates to your previous academic or professional experience and your plans for the future. Please enter new information and examples here. Do not duplicate the information you entered on the work experience and education section of this form. The word count is still the same, minimum word count 100 words, maximum 500. If you've logged in and seen the application, personally I have logged in to see, the beginning part has a part where you put in like basic information, your name, your education, your work experience. The work experience is important to see if you actually eligible, if you have the necessary 2 years experience. And then they are saying that do not duplicate this information. So what does that mean? Benga, could you please tell us what this particular essay is requiring from applicants?
All right, thank you. Okay, so now your choice of universities, they are quite important. And like they say, you don't have to duplicate what you have in your work experience or your education experience. This is strictly talking about your attraction to these universities that you have picked. Why did you choose those universities? Something must be in that university that you have read about that attracted you, that made those universities your choice. Okay, so those are the things they want to see. For instance, in my own case, I've been following the University of East Anglia for a long time, for 10 years, okay, since I started applying. And I saw that the university is a research institution. And because I'm a journalist, I don't just want to do journalism alone. I want to do journalism for social justice. So I want an institution that will teach me how to merge media with international development. Unfortunately for me, I found that in the University of East Anglia and at the University of Sussex. Okay, so you have to tell them that having gone through Okay, for instance, in my own case, I told them that I look through the modules offered by these institutions and I see that they speak to human rights, they speak to social justice, they speak to policy and development. These also modules, if I have the opportunity to get the Chevening scholarship and access those modules and learn from them, I will come back to Nigeria and do journalism in a different way than it is being done now. So you see, all of your universities that are going to pick, they must, by all means, relate to your own next essay, which is the career plan. They must relate. How do you want to use these courses to enhance yourself, to build your capacity, to build your critical thinking skills, to build your problem solving skills, or sharpen them again, so that when you get back to Nigeria after your scholarship, you will be able, or you be the best in your field as far as impacting development is concerned. So first and foremost, look through the universities very well. Don't just apply. What are these universities offering? Look at their modules. Do you like them? If you don't like them, so Chevening ask you to pick the best. You can choose to go to University of Oxford. You can choose to go to Cambridge. Pick the best. But make sure that these universities, all of them, have something to offer you that will prepare you for the next level of development practice and development impact when you get back to Nigeria. Thank you.
Stop cam buttons and mute microphone.
Thank you so much for that. Maybe any of the other members can add their voice to that. What exactly should applicants look out for to ensure that they choose the right universities and also write a wonderful essay? Maybe just before they come in, this particular essay, really, you must have identified the universities. I know we have said that you don't have to have applied for these universities, but you must have identified them. So you cannot write this essay if you have not identified those universities. So please, you need to identify the universities now, and then you can apply to them later. Kangwa and Dr. Ijoma, do you want to add your voices to this particular part?
I'll let the doctor.
For this study in UK, there are some factors you have to consider when you are picking your school. There are some schools that require that you write IELTS. I can see somebody is asking what IELTS is compulsory. It is not compulsory. It depends on the school you want to go to. Some schools ask for it, and some schools don't ask for it. If you feel you do not want to write IELTS, then maybe you should Google UK schools without IELTS admission requirements. You are going to see a list of them. So that is part of what will determine what school you should. Then maybe you have a particular lecturer or a particular researcher or somebody that you have read his or her book and you really want to go to the school of that person. That is one other thing. These are some factors you put in your essay. A lot of people put in their essays, I chose this school because it is the #1 school according to the Times ranking. Many people write that thing a lot. Try to make your own essay different. It could be the area, it could be the location of the place. For example, in my essay, I wrote that since I grew up, since I've been growing up, I've been reading about London bridges falling down, different kind of land, and I always wanted to go to London. I wanted to experience the culture. I wanted to experience the people and the places. That was what I wrote as part of the reason why I picked my school, London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. Then in another school, I picked the name of a particular lecturer, somebody that I've been reading about, somebody that has been working in the field of disability. I picked her. I mentioned that I also picked this school because I look forward to having lectures from Professor so and so, who has been working for 25 years in the field of research and has published this and this and that. Do you understand? That is one other thing you can put. Then another thing you can put is you want to know, it must not be about the ranking of the school always. Try and make your essay to look different from thousands others of essays. So that is what I have to ask for the school. But you don't have to, fix your mind that this is the school I want and it must be this school. You have to have an open mind, because one school may not give you an offer, but another school might give you an offer. But if you can get one or two offers, like one backup, I was actually very lucky. I nearly missed my admission, because my school was asking for transcript. If you don't have your transcript, start getting them now. You know how Nigerian schools are. Start the process of getting your transcript so that when your school eventually asks for it, it will not be a problem. I not only missed my own admission by about 2 days because they were delaying my transcript. So if you've not gotten that, for Nigerian applicants, start the process of getting your transcript. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful contribution. Again, I will read from the reading committee's guidance they gave on this essay. If you're hoping to be chosen for Chevening, you should really have a strong understanding of why you have selected your chosen courses and how they relate to your previous academic or professional experience, and your future plans and your plans for the future. So to score well on this particular essay, you have to note the following. Make sure you go into detail about all your 3 courses. In your answer, you have to clearly explain how they relate to both your past experience and future plans. Some candidates only focused on one course or provided sweeping statements about all the 3 courses. So please take note of this. Don't just make sweeping statements of I've chosen the University of Manchester because Manchester, and I'm a supporter of the Manchester football club. So please be detailed. Don't just cut and paste from the university website, and avoid reliance on university or course rankings as a reason to select a course. If you see there's those rankings that are there about universities in the UK, please, those shouldn't be the reasons you're choosing your courses. Research about these universities really and see their strength, like we've been guided. Then lastly, focus on the content of the courses you have selected. And I think Dr. Ijoma did mention this. The modules, the assessments, the lecturers in those universities, and how this will help you to achieve your goals. So if there's a certain professor in a university who's doing research on a particular area you're interested in, that's a good reason to have in this particular portion of your essay. Why? Because you can relate to that professor, but also it will give you an opportunity to achieve your goals. Then they noted that many candidates cited local attractions and football clubs as the rationale for why they wanted to study at a particular university. But we want to think, they want applicants to think deeper than that. So please consider those comments that have been made. So let us look at some of the comments and questions that have been asked. Someone asked that when you apply, let me get that question, when you start the application and you log out, the system automatically logs you out. That is Uche. That's Uche's question. I have noticed that if someone goes on a break while filling the application form, it will log you off and you will have to start all over again. Any solution to this?
I would suggest it's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to actually save. The best way I would suggest is to do all these writing in a Word document. You do all the editing and everything. You do it outside, offline. When you are done and you're sure that your work is okay, you just start copying and pasting till you finish and you submit. I think that's in one go. That's what I would advise. I think usually writing in the system is not so efficient.
Thank you for that. Kangwa, someone is asking if he doesn't see a link for PhD with Chevening scholarship, is the scholarship only for masters?
Let me chip in a bit. I think I usually say it's a yes and a no. So what determines what scholarships are available under Chevening is your country where you're applying from. So if you're applying from, I'm from Zambia. So if you're applying from Zambia, we only have masters, and I think there is a fellowship for later on, for a few months fellowship. In other countries, very few. I've seen PhD chevening, but mostly it's from Australia and I think Canada. They have those conditions, so it's not really open to all countries. So it's more or less a country by country basis. Mhm. So when you push in, it will show you all the available scholarships under Chevening on the application portal. So most Commonwealth countries or most countries generally do not have the PhD. You may have one form or another of a fellowship, a 3-4 months fellowship, and then an MSc. The PhDs are reserved for a very few countries, and most of them are in the global north.
Okay. Someone asked about if they need to gain admission first before applying, and I think that was ably answered. We are coming to the close of today's session, but before we do, we want to give some parting shots. So I'll give an opportunity to each one of us to give a general guide to this application process. And really, I will start by giving my general guide. When applying for the Chevening scholarship, really, and you're writing your essays, the approach that has been guided, the STAR approach, is one that you need to follow. That is STAR. And this explains the situation. S stands for the situation. Task, T stands for task, A for action, and R for the result. And everybody has mentioned, please use numbers to show how your results have reached people. If, for example, you're a lawyer like me and you're saying that you've reached out to maybe businesses, supported them in legal compliance, please mention how many businesses you've reached so that your example is complete. And then when you're discussing your personal achievements, use I instead of we, unless it was a team effort. And if it was a team effort, focus specifically on what your role was within the team. And then these are tips that I'm reading from the reading committee's assessment from the last year's application. And then please write full sentences. Don't use bullet points because this is your chance to tell your story, and you cannot just give bullet points and think that you will have a chance, yet there are thousands of applicants out there. Then second last is proofread your work. And that's why we are here, alumni, to help you not just to proofread, or not to proofread, but to look at your work and guide. I think Dr. Ijoma did talk about some of these online grammar tools that can help with your essays, like Grammarly. So don't just send in your essay when you haven't, checked it for common, silly typos and spelling mistakes that you could have avoided. And then lastly, you need to ensure that you do not plagiarize. Do not plagiarize essays from the previous years. I know some people have a tendency of asking, please share your essays so that I see what you wrote. Please do not plagiarize. The reading committee has read several essays over the years. They can tell an essay that is from a previous year. There's no way one's examples can be exactly the same as another applicant's examples. So please don't plagiarize essays from the previous year. Try and use your real life experiences in your essays because you're telling your story. And when you are chanced and you go to the interview stage, if the stories were not yours, how will you defend those essays? So please do not plagiarize. Someone could say, I was telling an applicant, please don't plagiarize. And they said, can I use ChatGPT? There's AI that is there that can help people write essays. Please, ChatGPT is good. You could use it for so many things, but you're not the only one who's going to go to ChatGPT to have them write your essays. So if you have the idea of going, another applicant shall have the same idea. So your essays might come out similar. So please don't be tempted to plagiarize. So let's move on to Dr. Ijoma. Please give us your parting shots.
Thank you very much. You basically said everything about the essay. Like the structure is important, proofreading is important, then writing your story in a captivating way, telling stories. Don't make it boring. Make your essay to stand out. Let it be different from that of other people. Then if you can, give it to some people to read for you from a different point of view. What you think is a very good essay may be looking bland in another person's, from another person's perspective. So give up. If you have tried before, don't say, I'm tired. You have seen an example of those who have tried and have gotten it. So don't give up. And I want to particularly commend the sign language interpreter. It's not easy to be signing for how many hours now? For almost 2 hours. I want to commend Mrs. Fumi for a good job interpreting for us. And I'm a disability advocate. I try to promote inclusion. So I was very happy when Fumi agreed to come to interpret for us. So that is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ijoma for that. And once all of us really are grateful to have Fumi in this session to enable the inclusion aspect of all applicants. And yes, we shall try and have as many interpreters in future webinars. Let's go over to to Kangwa. Kangwa, what are your parting shots in respect to this particular session?
No, we received the doctor.
Yes, we are waiting for it. We are eagerly waiting for you to get it.
Yeah, thanks. So it's very encouraging for me to see having people like Dr. Ijome and Mr. Ibere, who are differently abled, also coming and sharing their experiences and even motivating others. Because I think most times people think because I'm in this situation, then I'm automatically, these are not for me, you know. But when you come out the way they have come out and they have shared their experiences, they have guided, and people can see, it actually puts a lot of hope in a lot more people actually to see that these scholarships are for everyone. You just need to apply yourself and you can get it. And I'm also quite, I don't know what word to use. Giberi said he tried 10 times. I think that's resilience doubled. and it's not a mean feat, really. I know a lot of people who complain even just failing one time, like these scholarships, they don't work out. It's just remember I tried it twice. The second time I was able to get it, and I was even like, if I don't get this one, I forget. But it's really motivating. It's motivated me to see that there are people who can actually go for 10 times until they get it. Most of us, we just do this once, and when we don't get it, we get frustrated. We start having labels about these scholarships and making a lot of insinuations. But I think, guys, this is a very, very good. I've had a great pleasure for me to be with you on the same, to share a platform with you guys and hear your stories as well. I'm also motivated, really, and keep doing this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kangwa, for that. I know we are finalizing. We just going to hear from Gibenja and close, but before we do that, let us just look at the two questions that came in, but those will be our last two. Someone is asking about if there's a scholarship for the first degree. Just I'll answer that. This particular Chevening scholarship is not for a first degree, it is for a second degree, the master's degree. So that I think answers that. Please, we can ask our convener to look into other options for other scholarships. And like I've said before, please keep checking the channel so that you don't miss on any updates that may be coming up. Then lastly, we have a question from Olivia. I will just show it and then remove it so that our interpreter is seen. It's a question from Oliver. She's from Nigeria, and she's asking that during the application process, can I jump the essays section to return later and complete before submitting? Sorry to drag you backwards, this is important. Yes, I think Kangwa mentioned it, is work on your essays outside the portal, the application portal. Then when your essays are good, then you can bring them to the portal back, because the back and forth could be not just confusing, but also you could press the submit button accidentally. So please work out of the application portal, work in a Word document, and ensure your essays are perfect, and then you bring them back in the portal after you have finished, but before submitting. I think that we have ably answered all the questions that have been posed, and we'd like to hear the final parting shots from Benga. Please, over to you.
All right, thank you, Agatha, and thank you, everybody. Yeah, first and foremost, I should let you know that Chevening, or the FCDO, is an equal opportunity institution. They prioritize everybody, including persons with disability. So I told you I am totally blind. And apart from Dr. Ijoma, who is also on this call today, I've got quite a number of scholars with disabilities in my cohort. There's a fantastic lawyer who is my friend, who is a lawyer, Florence, and we've got many of them who are physically challenged on wheelchairs, and we forge collaborations together, meet together, talk together. So you don't have any reason to be afraid of any unforeseen circumstances. Nobody is going to be biased to the extent that they will exclude you. You are already included. Just be original, stay away from plagiarism, and then more importantly, in your essays, try and use connective words. Furthermore, in addition, again, moreover, all those ones, so that so your essays, your star approach, gel into one cohesive structure. Above all, I wish you success in your application. Thank you very much.
Space, taskbar.
Thank you so much. Benga for that. And maybe just to re-echo the application period. We don't want anyone to be caught off guard to say that they were unaware about the application window. The application window opened on 12th September 2023, and it shall be closing on 7th November. All this is on the website, 7th November 2023. All this is on the website, so please go to the website and get all the information that you need. The application closes on 7th of November 2023. Before we close, we need to give our interpreter room to communicate a few things. Thank you, Funji. She's a founder of Friends of the Deaf International Foundation. And please, over to you to say your parting shots.
Thank you so much, everyone, for today. Thank you, the organizers, the Chevening alumni. Thank you all for making this inclusive for my friends. And thank you for this opportunity to learn. Also, I'm an applicant. I'm applying this year. And I hope with all that I've learned, I will go back and adjust on my own essay. Thank you so much. God bless you. And keep up the good work. Thank you. Dr. Ijoma, thanks for the recommendation. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much. And with that, really, thanks everybody for joining us. We hope to see you again. Please continue, subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on any updates. All the best of luck to the applicants. Thank you.
Love you.